I was invited to talk about the impact of the energy efficient buildings PPP, which I hope all of you are familiar with. But I thought I would step back a little bit before and look at the wider context of smart buildings and retrofitting of existing buildings. So really for me the question I wanted to answer today is what impact can R&D have in our future cities and buildings really. Because change is, I don't know if I can pull this mouse here. Fantastic. So change is constant really, and this is a picture of the Pudong district in Shanghai in 1990. And this is how it looked in 2010. So really, change is constant. The variable is the context really. It's where we're looking at things. So as we talk about urban growth and carbon reduction, and as we talk about the impact of sustainability, we need to consider the potential of retrofitting existing buildings. And I think it was the World Economic Forum had a publication that said that the achievable energy savings from retrofitting existing buildings at global scale could be 20 to 30%. That is pretty significant when you look at the global scale. Then a report of McKinsey also had a bit of interesting data that estimated that if you elevate energy efficiency in the US government agenda, you could potentially create 600,000 to 900,000 long-term jobs to design and implement associated energy efficiency measures. So why couldn't we do that in Europe, and hopefully we're having the right conversations in these forums to achieve that. So, and we're not just talking about building level optimization, we also have to extrapolate it to what does it mean when you're talking about neighborhood districts and cities. And you've been hearing over the last couple of days, I presume, because I wasn't here yesterday, a lot about the connections between buildings and the wider infrastructure, and smart grids, energy harvesting systems, optimized energy management. So as we look at solutions at a regional scale as opposed to a single building scale, really the potential to make a difference is much larger, and it's a lot more potential to realize the benefits of a more sustainable design. So really the things that I would like you to take away from my presentation is a bit of what ARB is doing in smart buildings and cities. I'm going to talk a little bit about the impact of the energy efficient buildings PPP, because otherwise I think Regis would be upset with me. And then I'll give some views on some trends that are shaping the future of building design. How many of you don't know ARB? Good. Oh, one. Then I won't skip this slide. But basically, we're an engineering consulting firm. We have technical specialists, engineers, designers, economists, and ecologists. It's pretty broad, and we service the built environment. We recently revisited our strategy, and our 4 strategic areas at the moment are water, energy, transport, and cities. So that's where we are doing a lot of investment at the moment. We are medium-sized company in this sector, 12,000 employees. The countries that are dark is where we have offices, and the cities I've highlighted is where we have members of our team. So I'm part of the Global Foresight Research and Innovation group, and I lead the research part, as it was mentioned earlier. So what does ARB Foresight do, really? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Basically what we look at these major trends and drivers that are impacting our clients and our own businesses. So we do a fair bit of consulting for clients in this space. And we look at what are the social, technological, environmental, economical and political drivers that are affecting businesses. We do also exercises looking at industry-specific challenges. So one of our most recent publications is on the future of highways and future of rail to 2050, and all of these are available free of charge on our website, which is called driversofchange.com. I thought I would highlight one of these pieces of work because it's quite relevant for this conference, and it's something that we did a couple of years ago about the future of high-rise buildings in the urban context. And I know it's a pretty structurally crazy high-rise building, but what we wanted to illustrate is some of the technologies that we may find in buildings of the future, and the context the timeline we were looking at is 2050. So in this building you can see some robotics that are doing continuous maintenance of the building. They're at the top. You have food growing, you have bioalgae facades that are generating biomass to retrofit into the building, passerelles to connect to other buildings with green infrastructure, phase change materials that are in the interior of the building that are helping with heat gains. You have membranes that are absorbing CO2 and releasing oxygen to the outside. I know it's pretty crazy, but actually it's something that was very impactful, and companies like Tata Steel have invited us following this to advise them on what the future of housing is going to be for them. So that this is one of the things that we do, and if you're interested in a bit more of the detail, I brought some of the publications. Yeah. And I'll press the wrong button. Sorry about that. So now looking a little bit more to the nearer term, we also invest in R&D, and this I brought a couple of examples with me. This one is of work we've done. We've been investing for a number of years in geothermal energy, and we were asked by Crossrail to design a system to capture heat from metros and circulate it for district heating through the piping that goes in the tunnel lining. So you're absorbing heat, you're harvesting heat from the tube, cooling the tube, and providing heating and hot water to the houses in the neighborhood. And this is a project that is live at the moment. We also do get involved in European projects, and I saw posters of some of the projects that we are involved in, like Eco District ICT. And this one is a net zero energy building that it's funded through a Life Plus project, and it's called the Automated Office, and it's a real building in the north of Spain. And then in terms of innovation, I wanted to highlight some examples, and I think Christian left, he had to go to the airport, but we also have a very big database. And our database is about building performance, but in combination with the occupant satisfaction. So how many of you are happy with the lighting and temperature in your office space all the time? Oh, one person, but you work from home?
No, I've got my own office that I design myself. So, yeah.
Right. So I mean, basically, what we've observed is that there is a great disconnect between what gets designed and how things are operated and how are they being used, and that buildings get designed to regulation, but they are not. They are completely unregulated operation. So what we've been doing is to capture data about building performance. We've looked at 46 different variables. So we have building performance data and then user satisfaction in relation to lighting, heating, levels of CO2, and we're also capturing data about productivity. So we at the moment have a database of 850 buildings globally. It's called the BUS. We have a partnership with a number of companies, and we're running data analytics to see how we can improve our design processes going forward. So this is one of our projects. Another one I wanted to highlight, because I think is a really beautiful project, is in the Albahar Towers, where we have dynamic shading that opens and closes depending on the position of the sun. And the estimation was that it could reduce sun heat gains from the sun by 20%. I keep on pressing the wrong button. And then in terms of smart cities, something that we've been involved in is a project in New Zealand. Sorry, I keep on pressing the button, I should leave the mouse here. a project in New Zealand which is called Sensing City. I don't know if you've heard of the reconstruction of Christchurch following the earthquake, but they do have a great aspiration to become a completely data-driven city. So we've been working with them to develop their vision, which is called Sensing City, and it's all about the development of data-driven solutions to improve the quality of life of citizens. So now going into the energy efficient buildings, I presume all of you know about the E2B PPP, so I don't need to give much background, but it was all set up to respond to the need of developing novel technologies and systemic solutions, and addressing the fact that we needed research at European-wide scale that could then be adapted to regional needs. And we are one of the 9 founding members of this initiative. Some of these founding members are not us anymore, but really I wanted to focus on what are the key things that we've achieved, and this is what I was asked to cover. And we've done some analysis on the impact that the instrument of the PPP had, and there is an increased participation of SMEs, the speed of access to funding and response from the European Commission is much higher than the normal process. There has been a lot of industrial engagement, but really one of the key winning factors was that we developed a roadmap and a common agenda that all stakeholders could buy into, including the European Commission. So there was a sense of continuity of investment, which helped industry de-risk their own contribution to R&D projects, because they knew there was more coming down the line. So these are the priorities that were proposed as part of the second roadmap, which has a lifetime of 2014 to 2020, so for the whole of Horizon 2020. And at the moment there are 114 projects that have been either already completed or are live in 3 areas, so development of new technologies, ICT for energy efficient buildings, and then integration and demonstration of technologies for energy efficiency. And I see many of these projects are present here. And in terms of measuring the impact, there are 2 things that we've been doing. So one is the European Commission has been organizing every year impact workshops where they get all the E2B PPP projects together. We present outcomes and also have a discussion around what things can improve the exploitation of the results, and how can we use clustering to benefit this, to accelerate this exploitation. And the other thing that we've been doing is that every year we put together an E2B project review where we compile all the E2B projects, and I brought copies as well of the last edition if you wanted to have it. And we've also been asking every project to give us their key performance indicators, and by compiling this information we've gathered data of some of the achievements of the different projects. So there are 242 demonstrators across 24 countries in Europe. Spain, Germany and Italy are the countries that have more demonstrators. You can see that the industrial contribution is 429 million euros, reduction of energy 39% and 4 megatons of CO2 savings. And I think that the last thing I wanted to leave you with is some insights, just 4 different points I wanted to raise on how the future of building design is going to change. So the first thing I wanted to mention is people, really. People are participating more than ever before in the economy. You see more and more crowdsourcing and public engagement in building projects. This developer had an ad, as you can see there, about asking people what would you build in this space. You can also see that some teams coming together using data analytics to capture data about the performance of infrastructure. So this was a group in San Francisco that developed a frustration index about congestion and crowding in city, and it was all about informing the city council about the problems they had, so challenging them to see how they could address. So we really have to think about the input that people are going to have in the future to influence our designs. The second point is technology. What you have there is a technology from Nest Labs, which is a company that was recently bought by Google by $3.2 million, I think was the valuation. What they have is sensors that measure temperature and smoke detectors. Their aspiration is to connect it to your smartphone and not only have access to temperature information and smoke remotely, but also seeing how you can control temperature in your own house, have connected homes, and give Google information about behavior so that they can better tailor their products. And this is a technology that is in the market. Another point on technology is that we are seeing a lot of cross-fertilization across industries. And we need to think about how this cross-fertilization is going to change the way we design and the methods of construction. So this example is a high-rise tower that is being built in the US at the moment, a modular construction, which is pretty unique, and it meant that construction time was reduced from 28 months to 10 months. So it may have some pretty fundamental impact in the way we build in the future. The third one is about urbanization and connectivity, and the fact that big data is going to offer the opportunity to develop a lot of new building and a lot of new services around data. So this is something that it's going to have definitely an impact in the future, and it's going to change the focus and the type of people that we will be employing in our companies. So maybe we'll have a lot more computer scientists rather than engineers working for us. And the last point I wanted to make is about financing and the fact that it's very difficult to measure, and especially for financial institutions, they don't have the information or the skills to determine if energy efficient retrofit can pay for itself. So we're still a long way from that, but what we really need is the role of governments to put in place measures like tax incentives, regulation, have external companies that can guarantee performance, and a real dialogue between government, financial people and engineers to be able to make retrofit work for real. So the last image I wanted to leave you with is an image of the Empire State, which is a pretty impressive retrofit project, so the building underwent a whole building retrofit a few years ago, and they managed to reduce the energy consumption by 38% and reduce the operating cost from $4 per square feet per year to I think it was $2.5 per square feet per year. They did window replacement, digital controls, lighting, a tenant management system, and really I think for me the important thing is that it, with such an iconic building, has set an example for all the other high-rise buildings in New York to follow. So that was it for me. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any questions for Hi, I'm Carlos Barza, I work for Drogados, and you mentioned a project about tunnel segments who happen to have some kind of piping inside, not to conduct heat, in order to probably transfer heat from buildings to the tube or
from the engines.
Is that an ongoing project? Is it because we are actually doing one of the main tunnels for the Crossrail company in London? And I just was wondering whether that was something that was going to really happen during this time framework of the project, or it's an initiative for the near future.
Yeah, no, it's happening. Crossrail contracted us to design this system. I think it's the section that is near Kensington and the Imperial College, so near
I'm not
Hyde
sure
Park.
if that's our one, because it's been divided into
I think it's
many
Balfour
different
BT.
areas.
Yeah, but this is something that we've been asked to design. So.
So I'd like to have more information on that.
Yeah.
I might contact you so that you can provide it.
Yeah.
How much does ARUP deals with existing buildings? You've shown us here concepts which are something of a future development, but do you have anything on retrofits? Some solutions, some technologies, some examples?
Yeah, we do retrofit as well, and we have a retrofit leader that is actually sitting in Cardiff. So I was mentioning before, we do a little bit in housing, not much, but we've done retrofitting of cultural heritage buildings, for example. We've done district retrofitting as well, where you have a building mix. So one of the projects is called 100 Roads, based in the UK, part funded by a research agency in the UK, and it has a mixed building development. And we've done from looking at the engineering all the way to looking at the economics. And we are also, I have somebody in my team that is doing a PhD on the more on the social and economic aspects of large-scale retrofit and the benefit it can bring to society, to people living in these compounds that get retrofitted, when they become a lot more proud of the place where they live, and it can address social challenges, for example. So it's,
One more if anyone's. Hi, Paul Connell. Thanks for the talk. If there was one thing you thought was the thing that's going to happen quickest and soonest, I just impact, what would that be?
so if I glaze my crystal ball,
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that are already happening, and the work that we do is to look at weak signals of case studies around like the intelligence that I showed. And I mean, something that we see that is taking more strength is big data and the use of big data for intelligent asset management. So how can we use the data that we capture in construction? You know, if we're doing all the ground foundations for Crossrail, you know, how can we capture information that is, you know, that we can have access to in construction to then improve the asset management and the asset maintenance in the future?
So ARUP work with lots of public bodies, and are they, I guess that's public money that's been spent, and that data's in your database. So could you see a future where that would be made open for others to use?
Yeah, I mean that data belongs to Crossrail.
Yeah.
So that Crossrail is a big consortium that come together to deliver this massive project. At the moment, the data is being accessed by a lot of universities that are eager to get hands in data, and the universities are publicly funded, and the results are being published. So I don't see that there is much protectionism on that, and especially in London, where they have the I think somebody showed in a previous slide said that has the London open data.
Institute,
Yeah, so they, you know, all the data about London transport is open, and there are a plethora of apps and little companies that are benefiting from developing business around that.